begin the class. We were discussing ratio analysis. Is the screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am I audible also? Okay. We were discussing ratio analysis, and I had discussed in general the meaning of ratio, the importance of ratio analysis, and within that, how many ratios should actually be calculated or can be calculated. What are the various ratios in which different people are interested? These several things we have discussed in general about ratios, and specific ratios we had discussed where one group of ratio, within that group also I think 2 or 3 were discussed. That ratio was liquidity ratio or a solvency ratio, or also known as current ratio. Within that we had discussed current ratio and acid test ratio. We were about to discuss defensive interval ratio when we finished the class. Now before I move on to the third, fourth, etc., the subsequent ratios, if you have any doubt on what we have discussed so far with respect to ratio analysis, you may seek clarification. Thereafter I will move on to day's schedule. Yes. All right. Any question on that? Okay. So we had discussed acid test ratio. Here were we when just one of you, I don't remember the name, one of you pointed out that this is not possible. Immediately I stopped him. I stopped him because his answer was correct. His answer was correct. Others should have applied their mind. Then only. So I could receive this information from 4 or 5 of you that this is incorrect. So this is the kind of understanding that you should develop. You should keep an eye, a close eye, a good observation on what is appearing in on the screen. So those of you who could not look at it then, you may look at it now. You see current ratio, if current ratio of a firm is 2:1, its acid test ratio cannot be anything more than 2:1. At best, it can be 2:1. Because this ratio you calculate after subtracting stock from current assets. When from numerator if something is subtracted, so this figure will never be more than that. So this was a good observation from 4 or 5 of you. In fact, it should have been observed by many of you, by several of you, which perhaps only a very few could do. Secondly, this figure 20,000 in the earlier slide that you will have with you, the figure is, or the figure would have been 2. It was a typing mistake. It should have been 20. Somebody even pointed out this also subsequently. Yesterday in the morning after the class was over, somebody pointed out that this calculation is incorrect. To them I wrote back that the changes were made during the class. Either you were not attentive or you didn't see. If these changes were made during the class itself. So these 2 ratios were over. Now we come to the third ratio within the, within liquidity ratios. Third ratio is defensive interval ratio. This defensive interval ratio, it considers the availability of cash for meeting out day-to-day expenses. Every company has to incur several expenses on daily basis. For various works, so for various requirements. So if the company has sufficient cash on day-to-day spending basis, on an average, at times it can be more, at times it can be less. So if it has adequate provision, it can be called as liquid. If not, then it is not that liquid as desired. So how to calculate that? We have a figure, current assets, and from this we subtract the stock. Whatever is our answer, this will be your liquid assets. If this figure is divided by daily operating expenses, then you get defensive interval ratio. Now daily operating expenses, you have daily operating expenses equal to number of days divided by per day average expenses. Somewhere you will find it as 365, somewhere 360, somewhere 250, somewhere 300. So number of working days, if an organization works for say average 300 days, you subtract some Sundays, some gazetted holidays, etc. So let us say 300. So 300 will be your number of working days, and your per day expenses. You will be in a position to know your this requirement. This one, what are operating expenses? This is not per day expenses. Number of working days divided by operating expenses. No, not sales. Operating expenses. We are not talking about revenue. Why we are not talking about revenue? Revenue will give us availability of cash. We are considering how much do we need, what are our requirements. So requirements will be your operating expenses. So you have purchases, you have wages, you have several things, but that you don't pay on daily basis, you pay on yearly basis. The only thing which is important here is that when we talk about operating expenses, we do not consider, I am writing it, non-cash expenses. This I am writing in bold. We don't consider non-cash expenses. What are non-cash expenses? Those expenses which do not involve any outflow of cash. The expenses which do not involve any outflow of cash. Can you give an example of this one expense which does not involve any outflow of cash or bank?
Purchase of goods.
No, in case you buy goods for cash. Say it again. Yes.
Depreciation.
Yes. Depreciation. Correct. Depreciation. So depreciation will not be part of our calculation. Depreciation will not be part of our total operating expenses because it does not involve any outflow of cash. Similarly, there can be many more expenses which we write in profit and loss account, which we mention in profit and loss account, but those expenses do not require any cash or any bank transaction. Our bank balance does not reduce. Our cash balance also does not get reduced. So we calculate defensive interval ratio like this. So this was about the liquidity. Sir, what you should be just one second. What you should be concerned about? What liquidity ratios are? What all ratios do we include? How do we calculate them? How do we interpret them? And who are the people who normally will use this kind of ratios in the decision making? Yes, somebody wanted to ask some question.
यहाँ पे डेली ऑपरेटिंग एक्सपेंसेस का जो इक्वेशन लिखा है सर आपने, उसमें न्यूमरेटर और डिनोमिनेटर उल्टे नहीं होंगे सर? नंबर ऑफ डेज नीचे होगा.
Which one?
Sir, daily operating expenses.
Okay, number of working days divided by operating expenses. Yes, you are right. Operating expenses divided by, because it was just one second typing right at this stage, it's making some problem. You see, this was operating expenses, total operating expenses divided by, just one second, total operating expenses divided by a number of days. And here I was explaining, it can usually you will find 365 in the books, or good that you pointed out, or 300. Sometimes you will find 250 also. Sometimes you will find 250 also. Usually if there's a firm which operates on 5 working days or 5 days a week, so on an average 250. These figures you will come to know more in details in the subsequent ratios that we shall be calculating. If you have any question here, you may ask. If not, I'll proceed on to the next group of ratios or calculating further ratios.
Sir.
Okay, if no questions.
Sir,
yes,
sir.
Yes.
I want to ask that suppose a office is on rent. So how would that office would calculate his expenses for?
You pay rent, isn't it?
Yeah. But works only for 300 days. I mean, there are some holidays the office also. So how would they calculate for 300 days or for 365 days? Because they are paying rent for 365 days.
Rent they are paying 365 days. Look at the meaning. What is the meaning? Daily requirement of cash. On an average, how much cash expenses do you daily require? The idea is, the total idea behind this calculation is that if you have adequate availability of cash to meet your daily expenses, now daily can be converted into weekly, weekly can be converted into monthly, but if you have sufficient availability of expenses that you need to incur, then the company will not be considered as, you know, insolvent. Company will be considered as liquid. For that reason, see, the days on which you don't work, so that category of expense will not be required. But what are we doing? We are calculating average expenses. What are average expenses? At times it will be more, at times it will be less. See, the expenses like purchase of goods. If you are working on 6 days a week, and suppose your holiday is on Sunday, so would you require any money on Sunday? In the calculation, this should be factored in. This should be subtracted so that you calculate, okay, we are working for 300 days. So let us see, every day these many expenses will be required and we must make a sufficient provision. See, look at a very, very simple, I mean, not directly related, but still, you calculate your expenses on fuel. So you calculate, okay, on an average, I spend 2,000 rupees. This serves petrol for 25 days because on one of the days, not much of running around is there. In case of an office goer, there can be not much of a running around. Is there somebody trying to log in? No, I doubt if there is. So this is how one can be. One can see this. Okay. Then we move on to other group of ratios. Those, has everybody written the name, roll number? If some of you have still not written right now, no, they are saying that somebody is trying to join, but I don't see any pending request. Now they have joined. There may be some problem at their end. So those of you who have not written, kindly write it now. Okay. So we move on to the other group of ratios, which belong to known as efficiency ratio or turnover ratio or activity ratios. First group was liquidity. Second group or second classification, you can say, is related to the efficiency, or in the books you may find as activity. In some books you may find it under the heading of turnover ratios also. What are the different words? Turnover I have already mentioned. You may find either turnover or efficiency or activity. You may find these ratios under this heading also. Efficiency ratio, turnover ratio, or activity ratios. So you may find these under this heading. What are these ratios? These ratios, there are people who are willing to join and having some problem. These ratios tell you the activity of a company. Sorry, wrong thing is being deleted. So these ratios tell you the activity or turnover or efficiency. If you look at the total ratio that we will be including, it talks about inventory, it talks about debtors, it talks about creditor, it talks about fixed asset, and so on and so forth. So the purpose is to determine the efficiency at middle level, or not very high level, but maybe a middle level management. People who are working in the production department, people who are working in finance department, people who are working in the credit department, people who are working in the sales department, junior level, average level, middle level management. So these ratios, if somebody calculates, one can determine how good, how efficient these departments of company are, how efficient these sections of the company are. So we calculate inventory turnover, we calculate inventory holding period, we calculate debtors turnover and debt collection period, we calculate creditors turnover. So I'll once again go back where we are starting. We were starting the calculation of inventory turnover. So now come back to specific ratio. These 6, 7, or maybe 8, 9 ratios that we'll calculate and turnover ratios. How many does it? We'll take up one by one. Inventory turnover. This ratio means we wish to determine how efficiently is the company, handling its inventory. Now, which company will be considered as better when it comes to handling inventory? Usually, without looking into accounting or ratios and all, as a general observation, which company do you think will be considered as better one? Just one second. Yes, which company will be considered as a better one with respect to inventory? Inventory means a stock of goods in which it is trading, in which it is dealing. Yes?
Higher the inventory turnover, better it is, sir.
No, I'm not asking turnover. I am asking the company which has more inventory or less inventory?
Sir, less inventory, sir.
Less inventory, okay. Less inventory means whatever it is producing, it is selling very fast, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that means if we have higher inventory turnover, we will be considered better than those who have lesser inventory turnover. You agree?
Yes, sir.
For that, we calculate inventory turnover. How do we calculate? Calculations. Credit sales divided by average inventory. Here I need to explain a bit more. In some books, you will find only sales. In some books, you will find credit sales. So in case credit sales is given, better to use this ratio, this figure. In case credit sale is not given, but credit sales can be calculated. The data is available, it can be calculated, then you calculate credit sales. In some books, you will find credit sales, I'll write here now, either sales or credit sales, or some books may also say cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold. So what is there? Either this or this or this. So you will find different formula in different books. Some of the books will say cost of goods sold. Some of the books. So use in this order: sales, credit sales, or cost of goods sold. Any of these figures divided by average inventory. Now, what is average inventory? Average inventory means opening balance of inventory and closing balance of inventory. If you just like a simple average. A simple average that you calculate, opening plus closing, if you divide it by 2, you get an average. So opening inventory plus closing inventory divided by 2 will give you average inventory. So now you have two figures, one either this or this or this, and you have another figure which is average inventory. This is your numerator, this is your denominator. Suppose credit sales were 1 lakh, opening and closing inventories were 10 and 30. So inventory turnover would become 5 times. Is the calculation clear? Look at this slide, make your own calculation. They are fairly simple calculations, but not very complicated. So, okay. Is the calculation clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then you move on to the next thing. What is next? Before you move on, 5 times. If there are several firms, one is having 5, one is having 10, one is having 15. The one which has more turnover will be considered better than the one which has lesser turnover. Now, this interpretation will be much more clear, will be understood much better if we extend a bit more. What are we extending? We are calculating inventory holding period. What is inventory holding period? 365. Now, sorry, 360. That is number of days in a year. let me write 365 or 300 or 250, depending on the number of days a company works. And it is divided by inventory turnover. How do you get inventory turnover? You have just seen here. So in this case, suppose we divide 360 by 5, our answer is 72. This 72, interpretation of 72 is much better for the understanding of a common man. You have known how to calculate inventory holding period. You have calculated this time also. This time is 72 days. What is the interpretation of the 72 days?
So stock, you whatever you produce, you sell within 72 days.
You sell within or after 72. You hold inventory for 72 days, then you sell. You are right.
So
The company is holding stock for a period of 72 days and then it is selling. What should the firm aim at? Holding it for 70 days, 60 days, 50 days, or 100 days?
So lesser days.
Lesser days. Very true, lesser days. Now, logically think, under what condition can this be less? When your turnover is more. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
If you divide 360 by 10, you get 36. If you divide 360 by 100, you get 3.7, 3.6. That means if turnover is more, these days will be less. Under what condition your turnover will be more? When you have less figure of average inventory. When will you have less figure of average inventory? When you will be selling faster. So logically, it is clear that the company should aim at a higher inventory turnover, which will result in lesser inventory holding period, which is result in lesser number of days. So now inventory turnover part should be clear, that we are trying to assess the performance, we are trying to judge the efficiency level of middle level management, and within that that section of our company which is dealing with production and sales of goods. So one ratio we have.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, if a company has a limited stock, does it always mean that it is performing well?
Not necessary. What is the definition of limited? Somebody can say 1 crore unit are limited. Somebody will say just 1,000 units are limited. Somebody will say 10 units are limited. What is the meaning? How many, what level of inventory should a company have? Take example of any company, any product, and then can you think that this is sufficient? Okay, let me give you some hint. The number of units required in the stock should be sufficient to make sure that you do not lose any order. Somebody wants to buy your product and you don't have any stock. What will happen?
They will cancel the order.
And they will go to other company. They will switch over. And it is very, very difficult to bring back the customer once you have lost. They will go to another company, and if the other company's product impresses them, then they will be disassociated from you forever. So it were you who provided them this chance because you had no inventory. Okay, but at the same time, because you do not wish to lose an order, how many maximum inventory can you hold? Suppose you hold hundreds and hundreds of units, then you are incurring a cost. Your money is blocked. Your money is blocked in the units. Your money is blocked in the labor which you have put in. Your warehouse cost is involved. Your air conditioning, your office rent, and so many things are there in which then inventory it's losing its fashion. If it is a garment, for example, after some time the fashion will change. Nobody will buy this inventory because of depreciation, depletion. A lot of loss may take place. So you cannot afford to hold more than required inventory. So in second semester you will learn a topic in financial management known as economic order quantity. How many units should you ideally hold? So there are fairly good acceptable methods of calculating inventory requirements, calculating how much to hold, when to buy, what to buy, how much to buy. Now all these questions will be answered. So we postpone this discussion to the second semester. when a paper on financial management, and within that working capital management, within working capital management, inventory management will be discussed. So we move on to the second ratio, provided you have no question here. Any question here, or shall I move?
No question, sir.
No question. Okay. Now, next is related to debtors. Debtors turnover and average debt collection period. These numbers, perhaps serial number will change. Now, we know the meaning of debtors, the people whom we have sold goods on credit. Should we have more debtors with us or less debtors? Should we have, I'm not saying number of debtors, number of people with whom we are interacting, we are selling goods on credit. I am saying about the amount. Amount outstanding with the debtors, should it be more or less?
Less.
Less.
Less. Okay. Suppose under what condition will this be less? Under what condition?
When
Yes.
we are
Number of debtors
recovering
are
the
more.
amount.
When
We are recovering the amount.
we are recurring the amount fast, earlier.
Recovering.
Any other stage, any other situation wherein this figure can be less?
Lower credit sales.
Lower, you are right, lower credit sales. What do you wish? Lower credit sales or higher debtors? Yeah, I mean, nobody will ask you in the company when you join an organization and sit in a chair, okay, what is debt and turn ratio, define how to calculate. No, nothing, not at all. You will take a decision. What is required? More debtors or lesser debtors? Faster recovery. You will take a decision, you will take a call. Okay, let me calculate and then ask you this question once again. How do we calculate debtors turnover? Credit sales divided by average debtors. What are average debtors? Opening balance of debtors plus closing balance of debtors divided by 2. It gives you your average debtor. Just 1 second, let me switch on the. Okay. When you do so, you get an answer, let us say 20 times. Credit sales are 3 lakh, average debtors are 15,000. Answer is 20 times. Should you aim at a higher turnover ratio or lower turnover ratio?
Higher.
Higher, because under what condition will this be higher? If this is less or this is more. Under these two situations, this will be higher. And the interpretation once again will be better if you calculate. You can note down, I have written short form, average debt collection period. Oh, it is written above also. Average debt collection period, ADCP. So average debt collection period is equal to 360 or 300. Number of days, you write any number of days divided by debtors turnover. So here our answer is 18 days. How do you interpret 18 days? How do we interpret 18 days?
So you don't get your, your debtors don't repay you for a minimum of 18 days.
Okay. Any other positive interpretation?
So
You
they
get
pay
your
you
amount
with
within 18 days, after 18 days.
Okay. Or okay. Any other relatively, a better word? Let us say some technical word, or maybe not so technical. Some good word I can say. We can say something like that we extend credit for a period of 18 days. Our credit policy is 18 days credit. I mean, on an average, our debtors pay us after availing a time period of 18 days. You sold goods on credit on 1st January and you received payment on 18th or 19th day. Which company will be regarded better? One which has this period lesser. Isn't it?
Yes,
Am
sir.
I right? Okay. Now, before I proceed, let me talk that the entire batch of MBA main is working for the sales department, only MBA, sales department. The ratio that we calculated earlier, inventory turnover. You are looking, entire MBA batch is looking after the this inventory. The rest of the MBA branches, IBF, MIB, hospital administration, and all other courses, 60 students, they are working for debt collection department. They are into this section. So the people who are into this section, what would they aim at? Lesser, isn't it? What would MBA aim at?
Selling more.
Selling more. Under what condition can you sell more? There are several conditions. The condition related to inventory. Suppose you offer a credit of 30 days and you sell X number of units. You offer a credit period of 1 month and you sell X number of units. Suppose you offer 2 months credit. How many units you are likely to sell?
They must be more than X.
Maybe twice the X, little less than twice the X, 1.5X, 1.8X. Isn't it? There is a positive correlation between extending credit, increasing number of days credit, and the amount of sales. Theoretically, if you say you buy now and pay after 2 years, will you sell more or less? Much more?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Now your other counterpart, other people working in the same organization, in the other section, these people, rest of the MBAs, will they permit you to do so? Will they allow sales to take place for infinite number of days credit?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
They will not. You are right, they will not. Assume another situation that the class entire MBAs of our department of this 2022 batch have been divided into 3 sections. In all, you are 120. We have divided you into 3 groups of 40 each. One is in the production, one is in the debt collection department, and another group is arranging finances. You need money, so they go to different banks, they borrow money, they raise money from equity, they manage cash flow, they see how faster can they receive money from different sources. No, their job is to arrange money. Will they permit you to sell goods for the entire number, for 2-3 years on credit? They will not. Similarly, there are people in the production department. They have placed a requirement that if we buy this machine, our production will be much more faster, but it will cost us 2,000 million. Will finance department approve it like this only? Where will money come from? So the entire idea of discussing something which was slightly away from the accounting was that you need to take into consideration the entire environment of the organization. Then only you can take a decision. Stand alone, you cannot. You can put forward your argument, and in many cases, the interest of one section will be in contradiction to the interest of other. There will be conflict of interest between A and B section, between section B and section C, between section D and section H. There will be a conflict of interest. What A section wants, B will have a reservation. What B wants, a C may have a reservation, and all of them may have their genuine reason. We can add some more to this interpretation, some more to this discussion if we calculate one more ratio. So before I move on to that ratio, if you have any question up to this stage, you seek a clarification.
Sir, can you please explain once again how do we calculate average debtors?
Average debtor means, okay. How do we calculate average stock?
So average debtors.
My question is, how do we calculate average stock? Because this I discussed here, average inventory.
So opening stock minus closing stock.
Not minus.
Divided.
Opening stock plus closing stock.
Yes, sir. Divided by 2.
Okay, then how do we calculate average debtors?
Sir, debtors for opening stock plus debtors for closing stock.
No, there is no stock in debtors. Debtors are different items. Opening debtors plus closing debtors. See, when you close your books of accounts at 31st December, a lot of people who owe you money, so total debtors are 10 lakhs. That is, total receivable is 10 lakhs. Your opening balance was, next year, this balance is 20 lakh. So what is average? 20 lakh plus 10 lakh divided by 2, 15 lakh. In this
Yes.
case, I have written your opening and closing debtors are 10,000 and 20,000. Opening balances was 10, closing was at 20. So what will be the average?
15.
Average will be 15.
Yes.
So this is how you calculate. Average is same, it remains the same, only word is changing. In earlier case, the word was stock.
Stock.
Here the word is
Debtor.
okay. Any question? Any more questions? Okay, we come to creditors turnover and creditors payment period. You all know the meaning of creditors. The parties, the persons from whom you buy goods on a credit. So creditors turnover means you are interested in calculating how many days credit do we avail or can we avail. Okay, calculations is credit purchase divided by average creditors. What are average creditors? Same thing that we discussed just a minute before.
Opening creditors plus closing creditors divided by 2.
Very good. Opening creditors plus closing balance of creditors divided by 2, you get average creditors. Credit purchases either will be given or you can calculate. If we divide credit purchases by average creditors, we get creditors turnover. And suppose it is 5 times. Should you aim at more creditors turnover or less creditors turnover?
Some more creditors turnover.
More creditors. How many more? Okay, hold on. So I withdraw my question. Take second step. We have calculated average creditors payment period. Average creditors payment period 365 or 360 number of days in a year divided by creditors turnover, and our answer is 72 days. What is the meaning of 72 days?
So this might be the time limit within which we can pay back to our creditors.
Okay. Or alternatively, in any other words, can you say?
So credit is extended to us for 72 days.
Very true. Very good. Nice. Very nice. Credit has been extended to us for a period of 72 days. You bought goods on 1st January. When will the payment be made? When will the person who has sold you goods will expect payment? So January 31 days, February let us take 29 days, so 2 months, 60 days, another 12 days. So 12th of March, they will be expecting payment from you. If it is 10 days, so you sold goods today, after 10th day, they would be expecting a credit. Like you set your limit, okay, we are selling you on 1 month credit. After 1 month, you expect others to pay you. If others are telling you that they are selling you on goods on credit for 2 months, so after 2 months, you should pay back to them. Okay, now 72 days means that we can avail a credit of 72 days. You want this period to be more or less?
More so.
How many days? 75, 100, 200, 1000 days, 10 years, 100 years?
100 years.
Very good. Very good. आपके लिए एक मैं वाकया सुना दूंगा आपको. एक रेस्टोरेंट में ये नोटिस लगा हुआ था, आप खाना खाइए आकर के जितना आप खा सकते हैं, पेमेंट विल बी मेड बाय योर ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन. पेमेंट कौन करेगा? सुना आपने? पेमेंट कौन करेगा? ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन. तो कुछ लोग थे, MBA के बच्चे, चले गए खाना खाने के लिए, खूब बेहतरीन खाया, मुर्ग मसल्लम जो भी खाने थे, उठने लगे, बोले पैसा दीजिए. बोले हमारे ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन पे करेंगे. तो उन्होंने कहा आपके खाने का पैसा तो आपके ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन पे करेंगे, हम तो आपसे उसका पैसा मांग रहे हैं जो आपके दादा ने खाना खाया था. आया समझ में? नहीं आया?
यस सर.
जी
यस सर.
हाँ, तो 100 डेज वाली बिल्कुल ऐसी बात, 100 ईयर्स वाली ऐसी बात हो जाएगी बिल्कुल. तो लेट अस कम बैक नाउ टू सीरियस बिजनेस. क्या क्राइटेरिया होना चाहिए? कितने डेज तक का हम एक्सटेंड कर सकते हैं? 100 डेज, 125, 200. व्हाट शुड बी द बेसिस? See, something which is practically not possible. which is away from natural phenomena, can never ever work. Think on these lines. Can somebody give us credit for 6 months, 1 year? Where will he finance his operation? Where will he finance? Where will he get money from? See, each transaction you enter into, each thing that you do has a consequences. One can think of 100 days, 200 days, but what will be the implication of that 100 days? The person who has sold you goods on credit, he will charge interest. Will he or he will not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you delay payment, they will charge interest. Still, if you don't pay, what will happen? Still, if you don't pay, what will happen? Next time, will they sell you goods on credit?
No,
No, sir.
Not at all. That means, so long as your relations are good, so long as the relations are not spoiled, you can avail, you can extend this period. The moment you start a feeling that this is no more, enough is enough, then this will not be possible. It has to be reduced to 70, 65, 50, 30, and so on and so forth. So this was about the creditor's payment period. Again, go back, inventory turnover, inventory holding period, debtors turnover, debtors collection period, creditors turnover, creditors payment period. Now look at this chart. You have 3 firms, A, B, and C. What does this mean, IHP?
inventory holding period.
What is next one?
Average debtors collection period.
Average debt collection period. True. What is ACP?
Average creditor payment period.
Now, suppose you are overseeing all the departments of a company. Earlier, what role I suggested you was that you are managing inventory, or you are managing debtors, or you are managing creditors. Suppose you are overall supervisor in any one of these firms. So which firm would you like to work for? Which firm, in your opinion, is doing better?
B.
Okay. Any reason for B?
So
Any
C.
reason?
Sir, A.
A. Okay. A. Fine. Let me now just hold on for a second. You can you simultaneously see the slide as well as presentation, or you need to? Okay, then if you cannot see it simultaneously, note down this data in your answer sheet. Take out your notebook and note down this data. Note it on a piece of paper. Have you noted down? Take your time and let me know once you have done.
Done, sir.
Done.
Noted, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
All of you have noted down this data. Now again, study this data for a few minutes. Not few minutes, just one minute or so. And you should be convinced about what answer you are going to give, what answer you are going to provide. Now, once you have written down, you have noted, just write nothing, don't write anything more than what I'm asking. Just write A or B or C, one of these 3 alphabets, write in the chat box. Either write A or B or C. Don't go by the popular choice. Make your own decision. Has everybody mentioned, or still somebody is thinking? Whatever may come to your mind, write down and also make a note to what answer did you provide. Now let me check. 20 is of course common. MBA 2, Arsalan, what did you write?
Sir, C.
Okay. MBA 17, Mukul,
Yes, sir.
what did you write?
C.
MIBM Zaid. MIBM Zaid. चलिए सोने चले गए ज्वाइन करके. MHA 18, Shafi.
Yes, sir. A.
A. MIB 3, Nazim.
Yes, sir. C.
जी जोर से बोलिए.
C, sir.
C. MIB Rishabh.
A, sir. A.
A. MBA 60, Hamza.
Sir, C.
C. अच्छा ठीक है, आप सब लोगों ने जो लिखा है उसको अपने पास भी नोट कर लें. Right? Now within 2-3 minutes, within 5 minutes, I'll post an assignment on the Google Classroom. There you have to justify why have you mentioned A, why have you mentioned B, and why have you mentioned C. You take your time. Maybe once the classes are over, once the presentation is over, that you will need to join. You must have replied as C. You must have some reason behind that. Okay, this is the reason that I wish to work for a company C, because you are the one who are supervising all these people. So in your company, in your opinion, C will be better, or in some other's opinion, B will be better. So write your own arguments. Two sentences, 3 sentences, 5 sentences, whatever sentences, whatever text you feel correct, just write down that. We'll close it now. We still have some time, 2-3 minutes more. You may seek clarifications on whatever we have discussed so far. Or I may take up one more ratio if you don't have questions. I think I
So
can take
what
it.
is
Yes.
so what is NOC which is mentioned here in the table?
We'll discuss it once your answers are correct. Once your answers are analyzed, I'll discuss it after that. Any further question? Okay. Now, next one, this can be perhaps last, is fixed assets turnover ratio. Profitability we'll take up later. Fixed assets turnover ratio. Now, fixed assets turnover ratio is what? It measures the efficiency. How good are you making use of the fixed assets which have been provided to you by the company? You are working as a management, so you are entrusted with the responsibility. You are given the responsibility. Some fixed assets have been provided to you. How good are you managing these fixed assets? Can be known by calculating fixed assets turnover. How do we do that? Sales divided by fixed assets. You note one more thing. Maybe I'll post it to you at written down value. Written down value means value of fixed assets when you bought them minus accumulated depreciation. If the asset was bought 5 years ago for 1 lakh rupees, so from 1 lakh, all the depreciation that you have charged in these past 5 years will be subtracted. So whatever is the answer that you call as fixed assets at written down value. So when sales figure is divided by fixed asset at written down value, you get an answer known as fixed assets turnover. Suppose our calculation says 6 times. Sales was 100. It was, sales was 600. It was 100. So answer will be 6 times. So then how do we interpret it? How do we interpret this?
So,
Yes.
sir, we generated 6 times the sales from those fixed assets.
Good. Any other answer? Any other answer? Okay, no answer. You may think over it. We will continue our class tomorrow. You have another class by, I think, Parvez Saab. So you may disconnect now. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Hold on. Wait for a minute. Wait for a minute before you close. Okay. Now you can quit. You can leave the meeting.